Hi everyone, my name is Ross, and I'm the Photo Pro here at Lembeh Resort. In this month's Lembeh Learning Series, I'm going to share some underwater photography tips with a focus on backgrounds in macro underwater photography. While the subject of your photograph is of course important, the background and negative space also need to be considered. Do you want the subject to stand out against a black background? Or do you want a deep blue background to highlight the subject's underwater habitat? Or perhaps a soft, creamy, colorful background to emphasize the subject's vibrant colors? As the photographer, you're in control. And today, we'll talk about ways to achieve these different backgrounds, starting with black backgrounds. Black backgrounds allow the subject to stand out against a clean and simple backdrop. You achieve black backgrounds by using a fast shutter speed, closed aperture, and low ISO to eliminate all ambient light from the image, while using your strobes to light out just the subject. This lighting can be achieved in a few different ways, including shooting your subject against open water, using inward lighting, or using a snoot. Shooting your subject against open water while eliminating all ambient light will naturally create a black background, as the strobe will illuminate the subject but be dispersed in the water. This is particularly easy to achieve on blackwater or bonfire dives, when photographing subjects in the open ocean. Inward lighting is a technique used to achieve dark or black backgrounds when the subject is not positioned against open water. In this technique, the strobes are pointed toward the lens of the camera, so the edges of the strobe beams catch the subject, but not the background. Play around with the angle of your strobes to try to light only the subject. The further the background is from your subject, the easier it will be to avoid lighting it. Be aware, however, that this technique illuminates the water between the subject and your lens, which can lead to increased backscatter. A third technique for creating black backgrounds is using a snoot. A snoot is a device that attaches to the front of your strobe to condense the light from a wide beam into a narrow focus beam. This gives you ultimate control over the light in your image, allowing you to paint in only the parts of the image that you want to light. There are several types of snoots, but the best snoots are optical snoots, which use lenses to condense the light from the strobe to a narrow beam. Our favorite is the backscatter optical snoot with the Mini Flash 2, as it's the easiest to use with a true what you see is what you get aiming light. Position your snoot above the center line of your camera and rotate it forward and backward depending on the size of your subject and the distance it is from the camera. You can achieve a hard or soft edge to the beam of light by moving the snoot closer or further from the subject. Remember, when shooting black backgrounds, you want a fast shutter speed, closed aperture, and low ISO to eliminate all ambient light in your image. Blue backgrounds, on the other hand, use ambient light to achieve a blue watercolor behind a subject with an open water background. By slowing down the shutter speed, opening the aperture, and raising the ISO, you can allow ambient light into the camera, which creates the blue color in the open water, just like when shooting wide angle. You still use your strobes to illuminate the subject, giving it color, contrast, and definition, while allowing the blue open water behind the subject to give a sense of the underwater habitat in which it resides. Note that your shutter speed only affects ambient light, so you can use the shutter speed to control the blue background without significantly affecting the strobe-lit subject. The third technique we will cover today are colorful, blurred backgrounds, utilizing a shallow depth of field to separate the subject from the background. This technique is similar to shooting black backgrounds, in that you want to eliminate all ambient light from your image, taking full control of the lighting with your strobes. Use a fast shutter speed and low ISO, but open your aperture to reduce the depth of field and use your strobes to light both your subject and its background. Even seemingly drab backgrounds, such as the sand and rubble of Lembeh, can be full of color when shot with this technique. In bright lighting conditions, a neutral density filter can be used to help eliminate ambient light when shooting with an open aperture. This can be mounted on the front of your port, the front of your lens, or between the camera body and lens. So the next time you're taking photos underwater, think about how you want your background to appear and what you need to do to achieve it. And come visit us at Lembeh Resort to learn more, or tune in to future Lembeh Learning Series episodes for more photography tips and to continue learning about the wildlife that makes its home around the Lembeh Strait.